Okay, let's let's get started. Little after 3. So, boy, it's sure interesting or how quickly a year goes by. It's incredible how this year played out, and we'll be talking more about that today. Kind of uh, COVID and what we're going to do on and on, but it's sure nice having Zoom. Can you imagine all of us packed in that? Like a bunch of sardines with face mask on and going through gallons of sanitation lotion and all that kind of stuff. That wouldn't have been good. So fortunately we have Zoom. Everybody, we have a lot to be thankful for this year. You think of the disruption to all the businesses and families in the US and around the world. Fortunately, we're in an industry that our government said, you guys are necessary and you guys can continue to operate. So we did. And, I'm truly amazed at how everybody rallied, from our shippers, our growers, our shippers, to what we did in this office, uh, to really stay up and running, even though we disbanded in a quick fashion, from the Chelan Fresh sales office. And um, so hats off to everybody. You did a really good job. So should really be proud of that. And so we have a lot to celebrate today. So September 1st, as you know, starts our new crop. And so this is our year-end, year-beginning meeting. I'm going to cover some of the events that we experienced this last year, company goals, because obviously everybody wants to know what their paycheck or what their bonus check is going to look like this next week when we hand them out. So I'll cover company goals. This is going to be a different meeting. This year, you're going to hear from 12 of our leadership team, and it's going to be really good. Instead of hearing what all the departments are doing and growing and being innovative from me, you're going to hear from 12 of our managers. So this, I think it'll be more fun. You're going to see their passion, and so that'll be good. So let's start with this year's company goals and get this thing kick-started. Okay, so, we've had sell-through, especially on apples and pears, for the last, 10 years. And for the most part, we've hovered kind of in that 84% of fruit packed that ships within 30 days. We set out this last year to finally put some things in place so we could actually hit the goal of 89. We've had goals of 88 and 89 for a number of years, and I'm tired of not hitting that. And I believe that there's certain things that we've identified that we can fix and change and actually hit that goal. We were clipping along really well, you guys, until COVID hit, and come March, April, May, when we really packed a lot of fruit for retail, there was a lot of byproduct that came out of that bin. Export kind of waned for a little while, and aged fruit built up. And so we didn't hit the goal. However, we got a little bit of it because the board gave us the COVID benefit of the doubt. So, but for the most part, at the end of the year for organic and conventional, we were at 84.2% or something like that, and the target was 89. However, on organic, everybody needs to know that last year it was 75% sell-through. This year we finished at 84, so that was a big win on organic, so great job. Goal number 2, we set sales targets right up against production targets for apples and pears. We actually hit that goal. There was a little bit of disruption where we were below that goal during the months of March, April, May, during COVID. But the board of directors recognized that and gave us the benefit of the doubt. Forecasting engagement, that's where our sales staff every week turned into Reggie and Doug and Ken their 4-week rolling forecast, what they believed they were going to sell. So the first part of the year, they submitted that, and we were going to see how accurate they were. The second part of the year, based on how well they did the first part of the year, they had to improve on their accuracy. And you guys did a phenomenal job. Accuracy was based on you forecast you were going to sell Wegmans one box and you shipped him one box. Okay. So I believe that you guys all have it locked up in here. We just need to get it out in some sort of a format. And so we can produce what we think that, or what you believe that and forecast that you're going to sell. We hit that goal. That's a big win right there. So in your paycheck, in your deferred comp check this next week, you're going to get one check, and that's going to be 6% of your annual compensation. Okay. I'm not going to tell you what the ancillary is. You'll find that out next week. Okay, so what we're going to do is hear from a number of our leadership team. We're going to start with Tim Evans. Tim Evans has been our domestic, or just our general sales manager for a number of years. We started this company back in 2004 with 25 individuals, and Tim was one of them, and Tim has always been a charge forward, great attitude, accepts change, and just a great all-around person. And unfortunately for us, Tim is going to be retiring December 15th. So we have a couple more months with Tim, spend time with him. Tim's going to be backing off and mentoring those that are going to be taking over his position. So Tim, I'll hand her over to you.
Okay, thanks, Tom. Yeah, geez, that picture was 16 years ago. I haven't changed that much, looking at the picture. So anyway, yeah, 16 years, this is the start of the 17th crop for Chelan Fresh. And, we are Alta Fresh LLC, doing business as Chelan Fresh. Alta Fresh actually started in 2003 crop when Gwen White and Prince, Magi, who was a cooperative in Brewster, and Brewster Heights Packing all merged together one sales company, called it Alta Fresh. And we grew almost instantly in that crop year. Just to give you a little history, and I know I've only got 5 minutes, so I'm going to breeze through this. Magi actually had merged with a little co-op in Pateros called Crisp and Spicy. So our tonnage in our first year grew, just a few months after the crop year started, as I recall. That was 17 years ago. So then we, a year later, the next fall, we were moving to Chelan, and Chelan Fruit joined our team, and then Magi merged their cooperative of 2 cooperatives into the Chelan Fruit Cooperative. So it was really a snowball effect. And some key points: Tom was selling, Mac Riggin was selling, Ken Bruner was selling, and I was selling. And and the idea was born to move Ken into production planning in that 2004 year. So a lot of history there. We've all been through big changes. We had a relatively good year because we all have embraced change. And I think that's absolutely key to our success over the years, has been embracing that change. And with produce, it even compounds, or amplifies even further because of the sense of urgency to sell perishables. So I think that's the key. That's always been the key in the produce business. The other thing that I think about the successes that we've had over the years is being able to adapt and be flexible, which is on your annual review every year. And everybody scores really well there. And it's absolute key that you embrace those, that flexibility when change is happening, and adapt to the new ways of doing business. We've done a remarkable job at that, and I couldn't be more proud. Uh, I think it's much easier with an open mind like that to really, when you embrace change, it's easier to accept any challenge. And you have all done an exemplary job of making sure that you accept each challenge each day, each week, each month, each quarter, and each year. So that's really, really something to be very proud of. And pat yourself on the back. I couldn't be more proud of Daniel and Brian, the way they've managed their staff, the staff getting on board with the new process. That is absolutely key. This forecast is the key to executing our sales plan. And so that's going to go a long way. Our processes have improved tremendously through Tom's leadership and Tyler Boswell's contributions and Doug Ballard and Ken Bruner, et cetera. I think it's just been our planning and the information flow is much better than it ever has been. So that's one thing I wanted to talk about in accepting change. And I've always had a really open mind. I grew up with doing business with Walmart. It's been 25 years I've done business with them. They taught me how to do business. They taught me how to be accountable. They taught me how to be accurate and all of the above. So I just kind of wanted to share just a little bit of history and, compliment everyone on embracing the changes that we've gone through. We have an awesome group of people and I couldn't be more proud. So thank you.
Thank you, Tim. We will be having some sort of a retirement party for Tim, I guarantee it. And we just need to keep from getting too wild and we all end up with COVID. So anyway, thank you, Tim. Okay, so next we're going to hear from Daniel Gebbers, our domestic sales manager.
Thanks, Tom, and Tim, thank you. 10, 12 years ago, whenever I started here at Chelan Fresh working for you in the Walmart department, that was really taught me a lot about what we're doing and why we're doing it and how to do it. And I will always appreciate that and appreciate you. So thank you for everything that you've done for the grower base and for my family. So with that, wanted to talk about some of the highlights from the domestic department this season. So historically, we've been criticized at Chelan Fresh for having weak business in the Northeast. We've never been strong with Northeast retail. Historically, we always use a broker or two that covered that entire market. And we have made some dramatic improvements over the past several years. And just this last year, I want to highlight some of the changes that have taken place in just the Northeast market. So Wegmans, one of the #1 retailers in the United States, Nate started selling them Sugar Bee. So great job. Stop and Shop, one of the biggest divisions of Ahold. Eric started selling them a few apples. We got some Sugar Bee into one of their sister divisions. And then we had the best cherry season we've ever had with Stop and Shop. And they're a huge Northeast retail presence. Eric got us set up with Hannaford Brothers. That's been on my target list for the last 8 years. So Eric got us set up. We sold them some cherries, sold them some rockets, and we're in position to do a lot more this coming year. Trader Joe's. We've wanted to sell Trader Joe's direct forever. All of our business historically, I went through 4 Seasons and Robinson Fresh. And starting last year, we became set up as a Trader Joe vendor. We got started. We did all 2,000 boxes, and here we're set up. It looks like we're going to be set up to do about 400 with Trader Joe. So Justin handles that account. Great job. Another little tidbit, when we think there's no more customers to go after, Darren Benson was calling around looking in Blue Book, and he found a little wholesale operation called Carbonella and DeSarbo. And he called them and they said, "You guys can actually deliver to us?" And Darren told them, yeah, we can. They said, "Man, we're tiny. We didn't think anybody would care." You know, those guys are now buying 2 loads a week from Darren. Wow. And when the things get going and regional fruit slows down, they could be up to 4 loads a week. So when you think there's no more customers to go after, there are. So keep calling, keep doing it. A few other big highlights. Had our best back-to-back seasons ever with Wakefern, which is a huge cooperative of stores in the Northeast. And so overall, great job. Second highlight, Jay stayed on Publix, worked on them. We found a perfect opportunity to get him some cherries when things were tight. And you know what? We had pressure from people all over in our shippers, our sales office, everywhere saying, man, should we give Publix cherries because we're short? And you know what? We stuck with it and we did it. And Publix bought weekly from then through the end of the season, paid one of our highest average prices, and they took 100,000 boxes of cherries. No rejections. QC team stayed on it like crazy to make sure that we delivered. So a pat on the back to them, pat on the back to the warehouses, and pat on the back to Jay for making that happen. You know, we've talked a lot about building new business and building new lanes that we can do some more delivered products in. So here's some new direct lanes that we've developed this year. Phoenix. We've always been strong with the Phoenix National Retail, Sprouts, Albertson Safeway, Costco, Fry's when we were doing Kroger. We never had any Phoenix wholesale. So when we lost Kroger business 2 years ago, I challenged Paul, hey, build us some business in Phoenix. It started out, little company called Grand Avenue. We started out with a rejection that went to them. And you know, those guys then bought every week from Paul this year. And now we're doing almost 2 mixed loads per week delivered to Phoenix to all of the various customers that we're delivering to down there. So Paul, fantastic job. There's a long way still to go. So anytime you think that you can't do it, you keep calling and you keep doing it. Just look at Paul as an example. Look at Darren. You want to know something crazy last year? Produce Alliance came up here. They were super cocky. They wanted to dictate to us how they were going to buy from us, what they were going to pay. I took their customer list. I gave it to Reba. There's 40 of them. I said, call every one of these guys and start selling them. You know that last year she sold 18 of those guys? So there was 40 of them. She sold 18. That group of 18 bought 72,000 boxes last year. Almost all of them were new customers that we had never sold direct before. So pat on the back to Reba. And John Botts and Colton, pat on the back to you guys for helping us build those lanes, because most of that's into the Southeast where we needed to build some additional direct business. And the last thing is on that Northeast business, part of the growth that we've had is we're building trucks. Darren, Denise, Kevin, Justin, Paul, Colton, you guys are building trucks into the Northeast so we can supply the 5 pallet guys, the 6 pallet guys, the 12 pallet guys. And guess what? We don't always make money on the freight. Sometimes it's hard to do, but when you do it and you do it right and you do it consistently, at the end of the day, you sell more fruit and you're bringing more money back for our fruit. So pat on the back to you guys. Good job. A new targeted retailer, Lowe's Supermarkets. The build to customer is MDI. Just so everybody knows, Lowe's is a couple hundred store chain in the Carolinas. We used to sell them through C.H. Robinson. Dave and Jay got on them and they called them and they worked on it, and we sold Lowe's 57 loads last year. So nice job, Jay. Save Mart Supermarkets, a big time West Coast retailer based in the Northern California market. We sold them forever through CDS, a broker in the Bay Area. 6 years ago, 7 years ago, we said we have to build our own business. Then we put Darren on Save Mart, called, invited us down, flew down there, never got any business. Then we got business. We did 20 loads 2 years ago. You want to know how many we did last year? 100,000 boxes. So great job, Darren. Those guys are really behind Sugar Bee. All the things you're doing to service that business is phenomenal. So you deserve all the credit that you can get for making that happen. Brookshire Foods, Brandon and Darren, the great Texas regional retailer. They've historically bought through brokers. We've never been able to get in. Darren kept meeting with them, and him and Brandon put together the teamwork and the effort. And guess what, guys? First year of selling them, we sold them 189,000 boxes last year. All of it's delivered. Brandon built a heck of a lane. Colton helps him on trucks. John and I help him fill up the trucks if it's LTL. So it's a team effort, but Darren and Brandon, great job. Okay, Canada. You guys wouldn't believe this. So I got to give a pat on the back to Stuart, to Nate, to Paul, to Denise, to Justin. We had a record year in Canada last year, 1,018,000 boxes. The year before that, 2019, that was our second biggest year ever. 865,000 boxes. You guys realize that we were selling Canada under 600,000 boxes in the years before that? Our apple business to Canada from 2017 to this last year more than doubled. Okay, so that is awesome. Great work to the team. Keep doing it. I know it's not easy. You got foreign currency fluctuations. You got local fruit. You guys knocked it out of the park. Keep it going. That was one of our goals from 2.5, 3 years ago. Tom, I still want to get paid on that goal, okay? Even though it's 3 years past. So we got it done in Canada. So thank you guys for doing that. The domestic cherries. The domestic team sold 75% of the cherries last year. So do you guys know that in the years that the domestic team sells 70% or more of the cherries is generally a profitable year? There's a lot of factors around why that is, but we need to strive. Big crop, small crop, doesn't matter. We need to sell 70% of our cherries domestically because that gives Brian and his team the leverage they need to negotiate and hold higher costs on the export business. It allows us to only ship the correct fruit to the export market. So keep that in everyone's mind. Domestic cherry business, we need to be 70% plus. That has proven to be a very successful deal. And now there's a list on the right-hand side of that. Those are some big time targets for us to go after and make some things happen. Loblaw, the biggest retailer in Canada. Nate and I had a phone call with these guys and Mac, and we're set up. We're going to get a little bit of business into one small division they have called Florentinos. And if we deliver on the Sugar Bee and the Lucy's, the sky is the limit for us there. So we've been fighting for years. You realize they've been telling us we were 6th in line to become a vendor. And from Sugar Bee and Lucy now we're set up and we're going. Wegmans, we sold them Sugar Bee last year. Then they let us get set up on their other items. Nate and Jay will be selling Wegmans this year, a full manifest of products. So QC team, when you see Wegmans on there, that is the premier regional retailer in the entire United States. So great job, Nate, Jay, Tom, and everybody that was involved in doing that. Publix, that's a goal for me and Jay to turn that cherry success into apple success. Those guys are going to do Sugar Bee. They want to do Lucy. And we just need the support from everybody from QC packing right on up that we're going to make something happen. Those guys are the premier retailer in the southeastern United States. Hannaford Brothers, we got to start. Matt gave us some marketing money so we could buy down 1 load of cherries and we got set up with them. Now it's up to Eric to make it happen. He could use everybody's support. Hy-Vee, one of the best Midwestern retailers in the country. They're owned by the employees. They really care about what they do. John Botts has been calling on them. This year's the year that we're going to make it happen. They want Sugar Bees, working on Lucy. So we need the support from everybody to back John up and make that happen. The last one is HEB, huge Texas retailer, high-end stores, low-end stores, stores in country, stores in Mexico. Darren's been meeting with them dang near weekly. And with him and Dave's follow-up and Tom's support, we're going to turn HEB into a big customer for us. So anyway, I'm really proud of what the domestic team has done. I can't even tell you guys, I love it. It's exciting. Looking at what happened in Canada and everything. So thank you all so much and the support that it took us to get there. So with that, Tom, I know I'm over my 5 minutes, but I'll
Daniel, I love your passion. Yeah, you guys did a phenomenal job. I ran the numbers the other day, or Tyler did, and domestic, for what domestic sold, they sold, I think it was 72% of the fruit they sold went to retail, direct retail. It doesn't, well, it can get better than that, but I was going to say it doesn't get any better than that. One of the targets that Daniel, you didn't put on here that I need to share is Kroger. So we are back in negotiations with Kroger, and they, like a lot of retailers, want what we've got, and that's Sugar Bee, and they want Rocket. We'll be talking to them about Koru, and we'll be talking, they've already had Koru, but we'll talk to them about the Lucy, Rose, and the Glow. And so stay tuned when we have our mid-season meeting. I hope that we have Kroger up there with some numbers behind it. So thanks, Daniel, for that. Next up is Brian Peebles. He's our export sales director. So Brian, take it.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. And hey, I think my energy got a little pumped up there watching Daniel sell us on the Chelan Fresh domestic program. So nice job to the team and great job to Daniel in sharing what the domestic team has done over the past year. I wanted to start out by sharing with all of you a little bit about what does export look like. Well, if you look at the dark colored countries around the world, this is where we sold last year. And I think when you total them all up, it's well over 50 countries throughout the world that the export team has helped ship to. And some years there's a few different ones, but these are the countries that we went to last year. And I'll start out by taking a look at the South American area and Latin America, and that's where Mario is selling currently. I gave him a goal last year, which I thought was pretty much of a stretch goal, to get over 800,000 boxes, and Mario brought it home and sold 800,000 boxes. And I think the interesting thing is that that Chelan Fresh needs to understand is that historically Chelan and areas north were pretty big export players. They sent a lot of Red Delicious around the world. They sent a lot of Goldens into Mexico. And so you would think that that is an area where we would continue to sell into the wholesale markets. But there's things that have happened domestically that are also happening around the world. And what I think is so impressive with what Mario did last year, and did it with a lot of Jeanette's help, was he sold 54% of his sales were to retail customers throughout Latin America. And one of the things that Tyler and I spoke about the other day is it seems like every other week Mario's got a new customer that he's found somewhere in Latin America and brought that in to set them up and continue selling them. So as you see new customer names and names that you might not recognize because they're not domestic names, Mario again is selling well over 50% of what he's driving is going to retail customers. Another thing is you work your way up past Latin America, you look at Mexico there, just south of the border. There's a couple things that Gustavo is doing that I think you'll find pretty impressive. One is we talk about getting trucks. Jeanette has to help him line up almost 1,000 trucks a year to go across the border with the sales that we do into Mexico. And even though the number has decreased, starting in May and after COVID, we had to go and Gustavo and I had some conversations with the rest of the team, and he had to start selling retail and move away from the wholesale market as things have dramatically changed there. And one of the things that was interesting during our review today is Gustavo shared that his number one customer into Mexico for the month of September was Calimax, which is a retailer in Mexico. And I think, you talk about Tim sharing the flexibility of the team and the ability to make changes. Pretty darn impressive for someone that hadn't sold retail and needing to make a big change in the month of May, made that change. And now his number one customer in the month of September, the first month of the year, is a retailer. So Gustavo, nice job. Jeanette, great job at helping to make that happen with all the trucks that you line up. And then as we take a look over into China and Southeast Asia, a couple things I wanted to share in regards to that is that, like Daniel shared earlier, when we have to push product into certain parts of the world, we lose the ability to only send the best. And sometimes we have to start shipping other items, and that happens particularly with cherries. And I want to share a few things in regards to what the team did with cherries this year. One, Liz helped the other assistants set up a much easier path, workflow path in regards to moving the paperwork around. I remember a few years ago, and I think Tim does too, it was a 7-day-a-week, 10-hour-a-day program to get cherries shipped around the world on a consistent basis. And even though we probably didn't do the volume that we did the past couple of years, we did well over 500,000 boxes again this year of export cherries, which up until a few years ago was a big number. And even though it wasn't as big a number as it has been, the dollars brought in were as big as they've ever been. The export cherry program that Austin helped drive into China and Southeast Asia, with Joni driving business into there, the overall number was $3 a pound, which is huge. And again, I think Daniel pointed it out, it only happens when everyone's working together as a team. Domestic was able to drive business in the US, which allowed us to only export the best of the best. And that best of the best returned $3 a pound overall. And in some markets that Joni was doing, into Vietnam and Thailand, it was well over $3.50 a pound. Some markets were almost $3.75 a pound for the season. The other thing that I wanted to share that everyone helped out with into China, our ocean program, when it had its best year, averaged $2.20 a pound. And so when we set up the ocean program this year, we worked on doing a $3 a pound program. And this year we ended up at over $3.50 a pound on the ocean program. And I got to tell you, Christine entered some of the last returns out of China this year just yesterday. And it was impressive to get paid out of everything out of China by the 1st of October for the first time ever. And that took Jeanette and Christine and Liz's efforts to help make that happen. And so very impressive in what they did. Nice job to everyone there. You know, there's a couple other things that I wanted to share that was really a team effort that Eric Sauer helped out with this year. I don't know if many of you know, but while the rest of us were selling cherries, Eric was helping to implement the program with Christine's help with the invoicing. We shipped over 1 million boxes of farm to family through the USDA program that grossed over $15 million back to Chelan Fresh. So a pretty impressive thing going on. When the rest of us were selling cherries, those two were really making that stuff happen. So nice job to them. If we could flip to the next screen there, Tyler. You know, we talk about retail domestically, and over the past few years, we have shared the percent at 60% is where we want to be as a company. And then I always see that number of 6% and the goal for export. And I'll be honest, I really sort of struggled with what that number was. And I think the team didn't always articulate what that number was. But I wanted to share over the past 4 or 5 years, the percent of export that went to retail. And then look at 2020, where that number ended up. At almost 23.5% of all export went retail. And that was driven again by all the salespeople and all of the assistants helping to make that happen. And this year's goal is going to be well over 25%. And will we ever be at the 72% that's done domestically? Not sure, but I do know that if you look, every year we continue to grow that number, and I think we'll grow it again this year. So nice job to the entire team. Tim, I know this is your last annual meeting, and I want to thank you for all you've done for me, for the team that we have on board, and for all that you've done for the growers of Chelan Fresh. Daniel, nice job in setting me up and add some excitement. So that's all I have. Thank you, everyone.
Brian, excellent. You guys, sales team, you've done a tremendous job this year, and it's not that it's ending. We've got all this momentum going, as Brian alluded and Daniel alluded to. So good times coming. So next up will be Dan. He's our director of quality insurance. And so before Dan starts speaking here real quick, I want to mention in case he doesn't, the QC team that we have, you all, the thing is we don't get to rub shoulders with them, and we don't get to really know them because they're out in the field, they're on the docks. And I had the opportunity to rub shoulders with them because they came in to meet with Reggie and me and Dan a couple times this year, and they had legitimate concerns about, contacting COVID on the docks, because it kind of made COVID actually went through all of our shippers at some point. And so these guys are out on the front line, and they were probably more subjected to contracting COVID than any of us. And they hung in there, and none of them bailed. They all hung in there. A couple of them did contract COVID. And when I talked to them, they just had great attitudes when they were at home recovering. And so when you run into these folks, we owe them a great deal of gratitude because they got the job done, and they hung in there when they could have bailed. So thank you guys in advance. Dan, I'll turn it over to you.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Tom. And thanks for everybody for the support this year. Mac, Alicia, Julie, Lorinda, they got us these, I don't know if you can see it or not, but these pretty sweet H2O flasks that say 2020, 60 million pounds of cherries shipped with less than 2% rejection. So each one of our QC inspectors will be getting one of these cups. So thank you for that. This year was a tough year for, everybody, QC included. And just wanted to tell all the QC, everybody, thank you so much for, all the dedication, going into, unsafe areas, just doing a great job for us this year. We've got, as Tom mentioned, we had 5 of our inspectors, contract COVID, Adriana, Roman, Edgar Marquez, Jose Rules, Pablo Gonzalez, and Angel Covarrubias. So they were on the front lines every day and did a great job. I thought we grew stronger as a team going through some difficult times. But the main thing is everybody really contributed. If somebody went down, was out, for quarantine, or that was out because they contracted the COVID, we kept on having people step up and take on a night shift after they worked a day shift, coming in early, staying late, kind of doing whatever it takes to help the team out. So really appreciate everyone's hard work this year, attention to details. So this is our top 10 domestic customers that we have a list for. So this year we went up a little bit with Walmart. CNS, we brought that number, that number went up as well a little bit. Costco, we brought that number down. Aldi, we went down with Aldi. Super Value, we brought that down. AWG, we went up with them a little bit. Sprouts, we brought their number down. Safeway, we went down with Safeway. Metro, we went down about 4% with them this year, so it was a great year with Metro. Sobeys, we went up a little bit with them. Winco, we went down. Military Produce, we went up a little bit. Sam's Club, we went up a little bit. So overall, we went up with some customers. We lowered some of the customers' rejection percentage, but overall, with our top 10 customers, we dropped that percentage, the combined rejection percentage, by about 4% in a pretty tough year. So that was a great accomplishment by our team, and the attention to details and the effort by everybody was just second to none. So really appreciate everybody on our crew stepping up and for all the support from the team. Just really appreciate all of that. We had some issues with Walmart last year, starting out with some pairs. had some preconditioning challenges. And towards the end of the season, we had some internal browning challenges with Walmart. So what we're doing now is we're looking at every single pallet that's going to Walmart. We're trying to lower the rejection percentage pretty severely and get that down. And also working with export and trying to identify the retail customers and just get familiar with them and just try to bring that rate down as well. So.
All right, Dan, great job. And, you know, to tag along with what Dan was saying, if our goal as a company, if we could, without throwing too much fruit away or overgrading, would be about half of 1% rejection rate. And you can see for the most part, we are below 1%, a little bit above 1% last year. And then, I don't know, probably 0.75%. That's fantastic. And, you know, a retailer would be very pleased to be in that less than 1% rejection rate. So great job to the QC team. And just so everybody knows, out of the bonus system, because of what the QC team did as far as during COVID and everything and the way they hung in there, they will be getting an extra bump because they're well deserved of an extra bump in their bonus this year. So hats off to you guys. Thank you very much for the job you did. So next up is Reggie. He's our Director of Business Development and Shipper Relations. Before Reggie gets on, I want to say that, you know, I actually worked for Reggie for a number of years because he was on the board of directors and I answered to him when he was CEO of the co-op. And Reggie brings so much experience to our group that, and I'm not sure how long Reggie is committed to work because I think he can retire when he wants to, but he's sticking around and he's going to help drive forecasting and then also just uniformity amongst our packs with the shippers, and make sure that anybody that is lacking experience, you know, in packing and growing, go see Reggie. And we're going to have some training sessions with Reggie this year where you can tag along with him and go to the warehouses. And because we really need to learn both sides of the business, not just the marketing, but also the growing and production. So Reggie.
I want to first say thanks for the kind words, Tom. They appreciate very much, but I think you're too generous here. But you scared me when you said you weren't sure how long I was going to be around. I thought maybe today was my last day. I want to echo what Dan and Tom has said. QC group is outstanding. They're always, you know, in the back of the bus. They're the last guys that look at the packs before they go out, but they're probably the most important set of eyes that we can look at. And you guys have did a phenomenal job under real adverse situation. So thank you very much for being this team. You are what makes it. Tom, I want to thank you again, though, for putting this whole team together. You're the one, you're the quarterback, and I look at all of us as the line that protects and gives you some of those opportunities, and you do a fabulous job in drawing up the plays, so we appreciate that. Tim, gonna miss you. Sure, we'll get together some other time, but that said, our QC team is moving forward. They're gonna go from the back of the bus to also the front of the bus. We're going to be hiring both north and south online positions so we can help our warehouses drive the consistency in their pack boxes day in and day out that they and we you desperately need. We're going to try to stop the high grading. We do a lot of it, especially in the lower grades. We can make them and their growers a lot of money if we can get the right apple, the right pear, the right cherry in the right box at a much higher percentage than we do now. And we started that towards the tail end of this past season, and we saw some phenomenal results at some of the shippers. Their percentages of grade went up, their pack outs went up, and the dollars returned to them is also going to increase. So we're gonna be working online. We're gonna be hiring in-house. We know that we have the skill and the knowledge and the dedication for those people to that are on the docks now to fill the online positions. So we're not going to hopefully have to look outside at all. That process will start shortly. Vicki is working hard developing with myself and Dan and Tom the job description. Once we have that, it will go out to every single employee on the QC side that we have, giving them the first opportunity to see what their interest is online or not. We will then scan those and we will decide how many of those top candidates we believe we want to interview, and we'll start the interview process. We'll be looking for 3 individuals up north, 2 of which every single week will be on the lines rotating in the northern area. The 3rd one then will be on the docks, and the following week, one of those that we've had online will drop back and go back to the docks. And so we keep this rotation period in case of absenteeism, vacation, or what have you. And down south, we'll be doing 2 individuals down south. One of them always going back and forth from the 2 partners that we have down there. And every week, one of those will drop off the line and back onto the dock. So we want to keep this process going. I'm excited about it. I know that Dan and Tom are. Tom laid it out to our board a few weeks ago. They were all 100% on board as well. It is going to be a difficult job for us because we have to not only look and manage the grade, helping our shippers, but we have to find the right individuals that they will support as well as a team. And it's going to be a tough challenge, but I know we're up for that. And so we look forward to that. We'll be at the front of the bus as well as the back. And I think we can drive those numbers down even further. And you guys are going to get more business from it. So I want to thank everybody again, each and every one of you, whether it's been on QC or not. We've had a few laughs. I've talked with you, joked with you. That's what I think it's about, to be a team. We've got to enjoy each other. And I want to spend some more time with you. As Tom said, don't know if it's just one more day, that's up to Tom, or whether it's a few years. But when we're here, I'm going to enjoy it with you. So thank you very much for the 2020 season coming up. Thanks.
Thank you, Reggie. That was excellent. Okay, so we'll keep moving. We're running a little bit long. So if everybody could stay in this 5 minutes, we'll finish up in decent time anyway. So next up is Mac. He's our Vice President of Marketing. Mac?
Yep. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, so I just wanted to start off, Tim brought up that he's about the original group, and I think it's really great. We've gone from 25 people to 90, and as I scroll across the top of the screen, looking at everybody here, I can honestly say there's not one bad apple in the Chelan Fresh bin. And that's just a real credit to Thomas and the management team and everything we do here. So rolling into that, I just want to say thanks to everybody for their help. And going forward, I know we've got a real challenge, and we're going to get more specific and have more of a sense of urgency with our incentive plans. So the field staff is here to help you. I think we have probably the best in the business. Utilize them at every turn because they will help you reach your quarterly goals. Alicia, she's not here right now. She's next door putting together 158 samples for the PMA samples on the rocket. This COVID deal has turned us upside down to where we don't do face-to-face anymore. And it's actually, honestly, a lot harder to do the shows than it was when we were actually there. So if you see her, give her a pat on the back, because she's over there with her 3 sons putting those all together right now. Next slide. Okay, so your secret weapon is Andrew. If you want to really take your relationship with your customers from a transactional to a really consultant or relational basis, use him. I've thought for years that he is a great tool to helping us understand why things are going on in the markets that we're selling. And if you can be ahead of the curve with your customer and answer some of those questions before they even ask them, then all of a sudden you become a very valued resource to them. And price isn't nearly as important as probably it is to us when we're talking to them on the phone every day. Julie and Lorinda, Julie's come on board, and both of them have really elevated our marketing as an outreach, and the storytelling she's going to show you a little bit. I'm going to let her take it from here, but I'm really excited about how they're going to take us to a whole new level in this age of COVID and branding.
So Julie, before you start, I want to say something. So, you know, with what Julie and Andrew bring to the table, the problem is, if you get to know Andrew, I have, because I've hunted with him, he won't brag on himself. He's just, he's incapable of it. So until you get to know Andrew and you start to pull out what he knows, I don't know if you know this, but he was a buyer at Walmart for, I don't know how many years, of hardlines. So he was buying shoes, and he's got all these, he's got some really funny stories. You got to get to know the guy. And like Max said, he can really help you develop as a salesperson. So, and we're going to have some training programs with him. So when you approach a retailer, that you speak their language, because, you know, Andrew will ask me oftentimes, you know, don't come to this meeting and tell me you just want to sell something. You got to know what I really need. How are you going to know that? He can help you get there. So make sure you utilize him. Julie, coming from a retail background, is taking our marketing in a completely new direction with Lorinda. And make sure you get involved and see what they have going on, because it's pretty exciting stuff. So with that, Julie.
All right, I'm just going to show you a few pretty pictures. In addition to having the best people, there is no doubt we've got the best products. And so having Sugar Bee and Rocket and Koru and Lucy coming on board, to me, this is the thing that's opening a lot of those retail doors, Daniel, that you spoke about, and things that we really have to get behind and power. And so this chart that you're seeing here is only a fraction of the new items coming out. The first thing that we had to do is say, how are we going to set ourselves apart? What makes our brands different and special? And the good news is there's white space for Sugar Bee in the natural breeding brand attribute space. There's white space for Rocket. The biggest thing is giving these really clear brand identities, personalities, and sales pitches. And so as we're talking about Rocket this year, we're going to push hard on, it is the world's first fully mature miniature apple. There's a lot of snack side kids apples out there, whether they're called Little Snappers or Disney or Heroes or Emoji or whatever. Rocket is not just another little snacky apple that's a tale of a manifest. This is a great eating, fully mature apple. We're going to talk about that really clear through our marketing efforts. And then Sugar Bee has just gotten this kind of facelift. It's a big volume apple now, a lot of demand behind it. You're going to see new PLU stickers, new taglines, and things like that. And then all of the storytelling, we're going to take it from getting the customer before they're even thinking about buying apples, all the way through to when they buy it at the store. And so these next slides will show you a little bit of that. If you go forward one. So awareness and consideration, this is how you hit, I don't know if you guys shop online, if you're scrolling through your Instagram and all of a sudden you start seeing all these ads, that's not by mistake. Somebody is stalking you and they know what might make you interested in their products. We're stalking people with Sugar Bee. And so we know who our target audience is. We know where they live, what they buy, how many kids they have, and we can drop these ads in front of them when they maybe least expect it or most expect it. So you may see an ad like this pop up on Food Network or something like that. The cool thing is it's a clear message. It's all about getting the Sugar Bee up in front. And these ads are going to be cool because you can swipe right on the ad to learn more about the apple and kind of see what that carousel of story unfolds, or you can swipe up to see how they taste. And either direction will land you on a place that you can find me now. And so this entering zip code, the consumer just keys in where they are, or it may be automated. We're not sure yet. But when I'm harassing you guys for your store lists and addresses, that's why. We want to have every location in the US that will be having Sugar Bee populated into this map. And I'm using Sugar Bee as an example. This is the exact same thing that we would be doing for Rocket or Koru or Lucy. So just an example, we want people to find it really easy. And this is one tactic that we'll use. If you go forward one more, we're also creating little short videos. I don't know what you guys, your time span in looking at videos, really where you max out, but we need 15 and 30-second quick videos. These will live on YouTube. They'll live all over the place in our webs. This is things that we could make available to retailers, but we'll have these really cool video segments that again, push hard on the Sugar Bee apple, what makes it different, shows the PLU sticker to be looking for, and really just brings it to life. One more slide. And we'll start talking about getting that consideration outside of the store into conversion. Conversion basically means they're now ready to buy it. And so these are an ad you've heard us talk about a little bit, to where we can now have the same placement. So digital ad targeting that audience we want, maybe popping up on, you know, a Eating Well or Men's Health or wherever it is. They see this quick video and they can shop now. The shop now is a really cool thing that instead of just seeing where it is around me, they can actually add it to their cart. And so we're going to be picking the right geographies, the right markets to deploy this in. It's definitely edgy technology, and we're going to test it before we make it full bore. But this could look like the Raleigh market. If you look at all the retailers in the Raleigh market who are going to carry Sugar Bee, you could have a Shop Now button and their map would populate to show a Food Lion, a Lowe's Market, a Fresh Market, a Wegmans, even an H Market with only a couple of stores. Layer on some Walmarts and everybody else, and they can take this and turn it into a transaction. So if these guys are all fulfilling their online orders through Instacart, they would get an Instacart basket. They pick which retailer they want to shop, add it in, and now they pick it up on their next transaction. So this is really cool technology that we're excited to have. Go forward one more. Influencers. Everybody loves influencers. We're looking at our pool of influencers that we're using for Sugar Bee. We've had some really good ones with Rocket. A big one just deployed today that we're watching her scores coming in now. But we're going to have a wide range of diverse influencers for Sugar Bee. And the cool thing here is if these guys want to do recipes, which a lot of them will do foodie recipes, you can take their recipe, drop that ingredient list, including Sugar Bee, into a cart and buy all of the ingredients at once. And so again, you're getting them right there from, I like it, it looks good, I want to try it, let me buy it now. One more slide. All of this will come together. Now we've got them going into the store. If they're not shopping online, all of this stuff looks coordinated. It looks professional. It looks consistent between the conventional and the new organic Sugar Bee branded products. So you see the same iconic bee, you see the mascot, you see a little bit of a natural slant towards the organic version of what we did with Sugar Bee. It almost looks like it was just hand stamped by, you know, by somebody declaring it to be organic. We're using the most recyclable products as possible. Our pouches are now 5s instead of 7s. The organic pouch is going to be a 2 instead of a 5. So we may not be doing everything in corrugate, but we are definitely using the best products we can possible. You'll see that in our boxes and in our merchandisers as well. And then one more piece is the retail buyer. If you go one more slide, Tom, this is what we were talking about, and Mac, is we're not going to see the retail buyers in person as much, but we can still give them a great avenue to test and sample our new apples. And so Alicia's family is building those right now with the Rocket that will be shipping out, I believe, tomorrow. But these retail buyers will get these awesome looking boxes. This is the inside lid when you open it up and you have the product in front of you, the big brand on the back, and they're going to get fresh crop apples and all of this cool swag in order to drive their excitement about it. And then they'll reach out and schedule appointments with us. So lots going on in marketing, lots going on across the brands. I also will quickly thank Tim, because I would not be able to do, Tim is one of the first people I met when I started working with Chelan Fresh, and I was on the buying side, and he did not make my buying job easy, I will tell you that, but I'm glad that I'm getting to learn from him now in this space and look forward to where it's going to go forward. I couldn't have a better mentor, so thank you.
Awesome, Julie. Obviously, everybody's seeing the passion from you know, our leadership team, and you can see what Julie has done to, and Lorinda, to really take this to the next level. So this is really cool stuff. So next up is Tyler. Tyler is one of those individuals that is unassuming and fortunately, I get to spend a lot of time with Tyler. And Tyler won't brag on himself, so I'm going to have to do it. Last year or 2 years ago, actually, he would bring to me these accountability reports that really drove change, and it started us creating new processes with our shippers. And instead of us, you know, taking blame for whatever it may be, we've created more of an enterprise, you know, accountability system that we show at the board meeting every month. And for the most part, all the shippers have said we're in, and we've made some serious changes with how we produce fruit, the timing, first in, first out, things like that. So when you see a lot of that stuff and I'm presenting it, that's not mine, that's Tyler. He actually came up with a lot of that stuff. So Tyler?
Well, thanks for that, Tom. So we wanted to talk a little bit about compensation. At this time of the year, as employees, we've all been going through our year-end review process. But the company has another process going on at the same time, and that's where we're reviewing compensation for each employee. And our philosophy for Chelan Fresh is to look at each individual role, and we want to have individuals and roles compensated in a way that's competitive, competitive pay with our industry, and so that we can recruit and maintain each of you as staff members that are being paid well for what you do. To that end, we're participating and then receiving the results of a couple different salary surveys. One is unique to the tree fruit industry in Washington. Another one is a fresh produce survey that gives us a national picture. And so just like each of us goes through a review process for performance at the end of the year, we're going through this compensation review process to make sure that we're performing with competitive pay and taking into account how, the bonuses that we all enjoy here. So we want to give you a picture of that, make sure that you know that that's going on, and that is a key part of what we're doing, as we look at performance and look at our year-end turnover. The other topic we wanted to talk about here, just like Tim mentioned, 16 years has involved a lot of change and a lot of growth for Chelan Fresh. What we all do now is different in a lot of ways than it was years ago. So, I think when I started, I remember the QC forms being filled out by hand, and at one time that was converted over to the iPads. We have appointment loading going now. The sales forecasting kicked off this past year. So there are projects and changes to improve what we do going on all over the place. But at the end of the day, all of that change is driven by an attitude and a desire where we are trying to connect the right fruit from our growers and get it to the right customer to meet their expectations. Everybody on this call, everybody involved at Chelan Fresh has a piece to play in making that connection. And we're all contributing to that. And we're gonna keep looking as a company at ways that we can be improving that connection, improving what we do. And so that 16 years is a lot of change behind us, but the changes are gonna keep coming. I think Reggie mentioned the online QC. There's an example of something going on right now. The load building project is underway already, and there's going to be more in the future. Every change that we're making is going to be a combination of some kind of technology, some process, and the people. But we know that the people are the most important part of what we do. It's the most important part of the changes that we make. There's a lot of ways that changes can go wrong. But when we take into account the needs of our people and what our mission is, then we can combine the process and technology with it to get better results to help us all do our job together. So point out one of the things we'll miss about Tim not being around is that Tim has always been a great leader for his attitude, and not only embracing change, but embracing it with a really positive attitude. And so I want to thank everybody for participating in changes as they've come through. But let me ask you all to keep participating in changes through a positive attitude, through contributing your ideas, and then through remembering that our goal, the goal that we're all working on, is how to get the highest value to our customers and our growers and make that connection between them both. So thanks, and a great job by everyone.
Excellent, Tyler. Thank you. So next is Stan. We're lucky to have Stan. I almost had to cut him out of this program because he was on jury duty. They obviously saw that he's from the East Coast and didn't want an East Coast in a Midwest courtroom, or a West Coast courtroom. So anyway, Stan is here. If you don't know Stan very well, Stan, don't hate him for this. He used to own N2N and then he sold it. So our operating system that we currently use, Stan was the owner. He was actually the one that helped build that company. And since his retirement, he was asked to come back and help us build certain things within N2N. And Stan has tremendous experience and background in IT and building a system, an ERP system. So with that, Stan.
Thanks, Tom. It's a great segue. My background is more on the software development side. Over the last year, I've taken on a lot of other responsibilities, basically anything that's IT related. I'm going to segue into some of the others that mentioned, particularly like on the QC team, all of the individuals on the QC team kind of work in the background, similar to the IT staff. And if, go ahead, Tyler, pop up the next screen. There's the faces behind the IT staff. And these men and women are the ones that actually hold things together, whether we're talking about hardware or software, connectivity, cell phones, printers, monitors, RF devices, forklifts. I mean, you name it, the list goes on and on and on. When Tom asked us managers to put together kind of a 5-minute presentation and talk about the wins, and I immediately go to the ERP system and I think about software. And I said to myself, well, that's fantastic. Things work. Orders get out, shipments get out, et cetera, et cetera. But the lights stay on, so to speak, because of these individuals on the screen. So I take my hat off to each and every one of them. They do a fantastic job and frankly make me look really good. Dovetailing onto some of the things that were talked about earlier about change, and Tyler just kind of mentioned change as well. You also mentioned load builders. You've heard many of us, Tom and I particularly, talk about the load builders process. That process has actually been installed and has been working now for several months with a handful of the domestic staff, sales staff, and all of the Walmart pod. We are going to begin to push that out deeper into the organization, starting with all of the domestic staff and then into the export staff shortly thereafter. Like any software piece, we've kind of hit a bump in the road from time to time. And we have one outstanding issue that we're looking at today. I know Daniel has been excited and has asked me to push this deeper into the sales staff. And I asked him a week ago if we could just take a breather and let end-to-end make some modifications to the software so it runs a little smoother, a little softer, and less bumps in the road. To that end, regardless of how smooth that we make that particular piece of software, there are always going to be bumps in the road. I had a young lady on the sales staff today, in fact, send me an email and kind of said that she was having some frustrations, to which I owe her a response. But I think as we all take on any new function, whether that's a software function, a new job description, whatever the case may be, change is difficult. I'm the worst one. I have 8 pair of brand new, I don't know what you want to call them, hikers in my closet, brand spanking new, no exaggeration, because if they ever stop making these, I'm going to have a heart attack. So you'll hear us talk more and more about the load builders process. Roger Bozel and staff have taken on physical part of building those loads, I guess, not actually loading the pallets, but utilizing some new software behind the scenes. And the sales staff has now begun to use the front end of the load builders process. You've also heard Tom and I talk about bull trout. And who's bull trout? Well, to Reggie's point, you know, Tom being the quarterback, Tom ran into an individual who brought some opportunities to the table, formed this new consulting company for all intents and purposes, and called it bull trout. So you hear us use the term bull trout, and the few individuals on that team have been interacting with many of us on the staff. And what they are trying to do is to try to build a sophisticated piece of software well beyond what the end-to-end ERP system can do, so that it can analyze all of the orders on the table, try to make a determination on how to best those orders across multiple packing houses, packing lines, looking at things obviously like fruit age, quality, substitutions that a customer can or cannot take, etc. And doing that all with machine learning. So these new software technologies, again, kind of beyond what our current ERP system can do, they're bringing all of the data from many points, not only the ERP system, but industry data, packing data, CA data, some of the things that are not inside our ERP that they're getting from, whether it be spreadsheets or one-off QC systems that we've built over time. And they're bringing that all to bear on this decision-making software. We're hopeful to have something in our hands here shortly. I think like many other sophisticated software projects, they got in deep and then realized that it was a little bit more complicated than maybe they thought initially. So we're kind of chomping at the bit, and Tom and I are working amongst ourselves as well as others on the staff to bring that to bear. And we'll hopefully have something soon, as I said. A segue into the next topic, which I'd like to speak about, is our future ERP system. Obviously, I have a great background with the end-to-end system and the staff there, but we've kind of rode that horse into the sunset to a certain degree. There are things on the horizon that I feel that this company, this enterprise will be better positioned to start looking towards what does our future ERP system look like. Will it be a different vendor? Will we bring the ERP development in-house? We really don't know the answer to that yet. I've taken on a little bit of that responsibility over the last year and started kicking some tires. I used to say it was an unsanctioned project. In other words, the board of directors of Tom hadn't asked me to do that. I felt it was kind of in line with my responsibility, so I took some of that on. And now I have buy-in from Tom and others that we're going to make this a legitimate project and look towards the future. Tyler and I will actually be meeting next week to talk about this very subject. So as we look forward, and I don't want anybody to panic with regards to ERP. This is a process that will take a long time. I don't know what that means, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, but we want to be positioned for the future. The end-to-end system's been aboard for about 10 years. And I know everybody will get a chuckle who really knows me as an individual. We may have bought a quarter-ton pickup. At the time it was perfect, but now we need a full-ton pickup. So we'll be looking for something to potentially bring us into the future. So beyond that, Tom, I don't think I used as much as some of the other individuals. That's because I'm not a salesperson. So back to you.
Thank you, Stan. And one attribute Stan has that I told him in his review, he's not, he's the only person in software that I've ever met that if he can't do it, he'll tell you he can't do it. The ones that I've run into, oh, we can do that, and they never deliver. So Stan is a guy that delivers and does what he says he's going to do. So we're lucky to have him. So next is Vicky, and before Vicky starts, says a few words. Vicky and I spend a lot of time together on HR issues and what kind of culture we want in this company. And I know at times Vicky gets kicked around by me and by you all. And I can honestly tell you guys, she cares about you guys more than she probably cares about me and the company. And there's times that I'll say, hey, which side are you on? Well, she's got to be balanced. And I've asked Vicky, I want you to always be balanced. And you need to know, Vicky and my mantra that we talk about all the time is that we will always do the right thing. And so that's something, if you ever think that we're not doing the right thing, call us out and we'll sit down and make sure that we do the right thing. So with that, Vicky?
Thanks, Tom. Everybody hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay. Tom, he's probably the easiest person in the world to work for when you're in HR and you're looking at legal jargon all the time, and your CEO looks across from you the very first meeting you have and says, Vicky, if we always just do the right thing, then we're never going to have anything to worry about. So he makes my job really easy here. So, and all of you, thank you for all of your efforts this past year. Crazy what we've all gone through. You've all stepped up to the mark and done a great job. Reviews are over, yay. Busy time of the year for all of us and the managers. Difficult to sit down with you as often as they may like to throughout the year. And so sitting down and putting together a thoughtful review for you, I know they all put a lot of time and effort into it. And it was a real joy for me to read your evaluations and your reviews and see your growth and see opportunity for new growth with many of you. And I will be there to help you along the way. Tom, when he asked me to speak, said, let's talk about building a COVID culture. So COVID culture, if I scanned around my room, you would see nothing but Lysol wipes and sanitizers and bottles and cleansers and face masks. That's been our lives for the last 6 months, which is shocking. Who would have thought 6 months later we'd still be here, but we are. So our culture in the office has changed. We went from 40 people in the office to maybe 15 at any one time. And the front door locked, and we just roll with it. Everybody here's had a great attitude. Everybody in the fields had a great attitude. I do miss the interaction with everyone on a daily basis. Tom walked by me and, we were discussing working remote, and he looked at me and he said, Vicky, we've walked by each other twice today, and each time, even if we have masks on, I can tell you're smiling. And if we go remote, that's going to go away. So for me, a COVID culture is how do we stay in touch with one another, because I truly believe we have one of the best, strongest teams, and the interaction that we miss on a daily basis, I think it makes us stronger. So how am I going to try to adjust to that? I'd like to start, and I mentioned this the other day to Julie, I'd like to start whether it's a monthly newsletter where I'm reaching out to individuals on the staff and finding out what's going on in your life. I used to be able to do that when you walked around the corner and we said hey in the morning or opened the door for one another. Or I truly appreciate Denise sending out her pictures of her grandbaby, and there's little things that keep us connected. It can't be work all the time, as Tim said it. There has to be some fun involved, and liking the people, truly liking the people you work with is a big part of that. So I'll be reaching out, putting something together that I can send out electronically to keep one another up to date. Unfortunately, we did not have our bowling tournament at the beginning of this year, and volleyball is not going to happen either because of the COVID. Honestly, we weren't going to have volleyball anyway. We had 2 injuries last year to our staff, and they were hobbling around for a while. So Tom looked at me and said, maybe it's time we move on to something less physical. So unfortunately, I don't know if you can see this. Our reigning champs will continue to be the hardcore ravers from last year, and it may be a while before we get back to volleyball. I did discuss with Jeanette, what about a cornhole championship? We're tossing that idea around, looking at holding one in Chelan, one in Yakima, and having a virtual playoff between the champions that will involve face masks and latex gloves in order to participate. So we're still putting that together, so stay tuned for that. I'll be reaching out to logistics. It was their turn this year for the Christmas party, and I don't anticipate we'll all be cramming into a room, as Tom referred to earlier, laughing and spitting on one another while we're eating. So Christmas is all about giving, and maybe this is a year that we can get together as a group and come up with an idea to give back to our community, whether it's in the using those funds that we had set aside for an event for ourselves to create some boxes for volunteer, to give out to communities, those in need within our communities. So send me your ideas about that. Roger will be glad he doesn't have to put this whole thing together and feed all of us. But I still am going to put him on the spot to help with this, if not anything other than logistically. I wanted to announce that Colton Price has agreed to be our safety committee manager. And on our safety committee, we have elected individuals and we have some appointed individuals. So be staying tuned if you have an interest in participating in it. Colton will be the person to reach out to, and he will be reaching out to you as well. In regards to professional development, Tyler, if you can change that slide for me. I heard a lot of talk about development. I heard a lot of talk about teams. And again, I read your reviews and I've seen where there's room for growth and development for each of you. This is an example of an experience plan for entry-level sales. What we actually sat down as a group. Tim was involved in this, Tom, Daniel, Brian, and we've tried to identify what is a skill set that is required for an entry-level sales, down to once you've taken in that set and you own those skill set, then we move into an intermediate. And Tyler, if you can just scan down on that, you'll see that there's a constant development, whether it's entry, intermediate, or senior sales. Some of you have seen this before. Many of you have this already, and you're working with your manager towards the completion of these skills. Unfortunately, it's difficult to get over to the docs. Sounds like Tom's going to make that happen with Reggie. So for those of you who are in entry-level sales, getting you over to the docs, seeing the fruit firsthand, knowledge, whenever you're talking to a customer. You know, I was listening to Daniel and I was blown away by all the things he was talking about and saying, and learning still and hearing him. Having that knowledge when you're having that conversation with your customer is everything. And so offering you opportunity to meet possibly with Andrew as well, as I heard, that we'll have some trainings with Andrew. So I'm going to work with you. I'll be reaching out to you to try and get you involved in some of these trainings and opportunities. As we do this as well at the in our accounting department, at our QA department, at every level. So if I'm not reaching out to you, come and see me. Say, Vicki, I have time. I want to do this. I have an interest, and well, I'll be right there with you, working to get you to that next level. Again, congratulations, everybody, and a great year.
Thank you, Vicki.
You bet.
So next, what did I say, Bob? Yep, so Bob Grandy, so fortunate to have Bob. You know, he's been the Director of Food Safety for Gebers Farms for a number of years, and he was able to work 15 hours instead of 12 and still cover what we needed to cover as our food safety program has really developed and kind of calmed down. And Bob has put a lot of what customer requests are for, he put those online. So he's kind of streamlined what we do. And so Bob's been a big addition to this company. And so with that, Bob. Bob, are you there?
How about now?
There you go. We can hear you.
Okay.
Yep.
I'm Bob Grandy. I handle the food safety and sustainability programs for Schlein Fresh Marketing. I also handle it for Gebers Farms, and I also handle it for Apple House and 48 Growers. So it's a fascinating career, and I love what I do. I'm going to preface what I'm going to say today is I look at Schlein Fresh as an information company that sells fruit. And almost everyone that spoke today and presented what they're doing is about conveying information. We convey it internally, staff to staff. We convey it to the enterprise members, which are our packers, the retail buyers and consumers. And the thing I'm finding is they want that information right now. They don't want to wait. They want it to be correct. So my goal in the food safety department is to make the transfer of information accurate, understandable, and easy to use. And that's why early on, I posted all of our food safety certificates and audit reports on the Schlein Fresh website. It's had a great response. I think it's saved time for a lot of people, and I continue to enhance that. I'm going to be working on some other projects, and I'm going to focus on projects that I think will enhance our commitment to food safety and sustainability. We're looking at a Be Better program for the growers. We're looking at the Equitable Foods Initiative. There's a non-GMO project that we can get certification on. The Oregon Tilth program for organic growers, and there's another one called Responsible Ag Project, which I'm going to take a look at. Remember, when we look at these programs, it's not just one enterprise member, it's all of them. It's Borton, it's Crane and Crane, it's Gebber's Farms, it's Apple House, it's Jackass, it's all the members. So when we start looking at things like this and we want to bring you this tool to Chelan Fresh, we all want to be on board because you sell fruit from all of those enterprise members. Another project, it's an information thing again, is I'm working on with Ken Bruner and Roy Baker as an example, centralizing our packaging information so that we have it in one source. When you as a salesman or anybody else needs that information, we've got it all in one spot. And that's going to be one of my winter projects, and God willing, we'll get it done. The last thing I want to talk about quickly is COVID. We know that the Seattle Times has published several articles about Gebber's Farms as an example in the COVID situation up here. They haven't been flattering, and truthfully, they haven't been accurate in many cases. All of the enterprise members, when this thing began, they developed their own programs. They all had a COVID plan. Gebber's Farms had a COVID plan. We started ours actually before the state of Washington required that we do it. And that was back in March. We had a concept of putting our workers together in pods, and we did that. We used a number of basically 45 people because that's the size of our buses. And so we had peoples in pods, and then the state developed their own program, and they said it was going to be 15. So we were not in compliance with what the state felt was an appropriate approach. So we have been working with the state. We filed variances, and we've tried to come up with other reasonable solutions to take care of our workers. Because what's happening now with our workers, as an example, is you can only haul 15 at a time. So that means your workforce is taking 3 times as long to get them to the job and 3 times as long to get them back after they're done working. There's limitations on when they eat, where they can eat, how often, you know, and it's all scheduled. It's just a lot more challenging. So we're going to fix that. So one of the issues is we had some people pass away. One of them we know contracted it in the community. It was very sad. Another gentleman from Jamaica, in fact, I hired the guy down in Kingston. He was a fine man, and it just breaks your heart. And so we had 3 people that contracted COVID. They may or may not have gotten it here at work. We don't know for sure. But as a result of this, the state of Washington asked us to do some things. And one of them is they asked us to test all of our employees. We did run the test. It's been about a month ago now. And out of 3,500 employees, we had 24 employees that were tested positive, that were asymptomatic. They had no symptoms. And that came out to a rate of 0.006%. It was a little over 0.5%. It's 4 times less than the county rate. It's certainly significantly less than the state rate. And the reason I bring it up, and it's important, I guess, for everyone to understand, is we had a program in place. These tests prove that what we did was working, because we don't want people sick. We don't want people dying. You know, everybody's important. Everybody's important. And so I just wanted you to know that we are doing everything we can to keep our workers safe, our QC guys safe when they're here. And that's not to say we're perfect. We've made some mistakes. And, you know, Dan, when he saw some things that weren't right, he let us know, you know. And so with that said, we're really looking forward to finding a solution to the COVID thing. I don't know that it's going to be anytime soon. We're going to all have to continue to be vigilant, wear our masks, be respectful of others, and do all the things that we're doing now. Okanagan County, as an example, is having 1 positive COVID rate per month or per week right now. So it's very, very low. It's very, very low. And we want to continue that way. Last thing is I really take my hat off to the QC guys. You know, all of us here, most of us here, we're information people. We're getting information out so everybody can do their decisions and make their work done, you know. But the QC guys, they're out in the warehouse. They're looking at the fruit. They're taking boxes, opening them up, seeing if it looks right. Tremendous respect for QC. Always will have. And with that, I'm done. Thank you.
Hey, thank you, Bob. And so last of the managers, and then I'm going to get into the rest of the meeting, and I promise I'll skip through fast because I can. Darren Benson, I assume, Darren, you can hear us. I think Darren's in his truck somewhere because he's out hunting elk. He got drawn for a special elk hunt. So I believe he's in his truck. Darren, can you hear us?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yep, loud and clear. Have at it, Darren.
All right. So thanks for the opportunity here. Yeah, I moved down to Yakima in March, and it's been an amazing experience. So I need to start off by giving a huge shout out to Denny Annan. Boy, that guy has taken me under my wing and shown me the ropes. He's given me the opportunity to work closely with John Borton and Mark Lundberg and kind of pass on the reins, and that's very difficult. You know, I owe just about everything I can to Denny here. He's been a fantastic mentor for me. As far as some of the guys, this is the new reality of COVID. You just hang out with your kids all the time. So I appreciate you being patient with me. But guys, we've got something awesome coming up here. We're moving into the new office here at the end of the month, and we are right on the packing line. So looking at that picture, we're in the 3rd floor there. We've got a ton of room to host all 9 of our salespeople in there. And then I actually had Vicky order about 6 more desks, and we're going to fill those things one way or another. Our goal down here is to build a super team, and we're going to go ahead and do that. One thing I can promise you is you will have a lifetime membership to miners. And if you're lucky enough, we'll get you a hilltop piece of land that overlooks the Sun Dome. But I do want to take just a quick second to talk about my team. So when I came into the office, it was right when COVID hit. And it was just me and Tessie, Carmel, and Lindsay. And for a while there, it was just me and the gals. I was kind of just one of the gals. You know, we laughed together, we cried together, we just had a darn good time. Then when some of the mandates were lifted, the rest of the gang came in, and I'll tell you what, these are the best people. These folks down in Yakima, they are awesome. We have got a super team already in place, and I cannot wait to build a future with these guys. Yep, like I said, there are going to be some desks available. I invite you guys to come down and visit us anytime you can. You need to come see this facility. You need to work side by side with us. And yep, I'm looking forward to it. It's been a fantastic year. Hats off to all of our staff at Chelan Fresh, and specifically to our Yakima staff. You guys have done a fantastic job, and thank you for letting me be a part of your family.
All right, thanks, Darren. Yeah, you know, whenever I go down to the Yakima office, last time I was down there, I don't know, 3-4 weeks ago, they're all back to work for the most part, and I think it's because they really enjoy each other. It's a pretty tight-knit group, and so great job to the Yakima team. Thank you very much. So All right, so let's keep moving on. I think I can get this done in about 10 minutes, so bear with me, okay? So company goals are going to be the same as last year. I'm not going to go through them because for the most part, all of us know what they are. The reason I'm keeping them the same is we had that COVID disruption and I don't want to lose momentum. We were getting closer to creating these new processes and hitting these goals. So we're going to roll those into this year too. Okay. Next one, I want to touch on the vision for the company. And so there's 3 things that I'm going to be focused on and implementing this next year. The first one is diversity. And, you know, you hear diversity a lot, but what I want to do is I believe that we have hired extremely capable individuals and we have a very diverse group. And so I want to hire and raise up leaders from within the company, okay? And, you know, you look at this chart to the right, and I would highlight when you have a diverse leadership group within an organization like Chelan Fresh, you're going to have different perspectives. You're going to solve problems faster. You're going to have increased creativity. Better decisions are made. I've seen that within a lot of the group decisions that we all throw out our perspective, and it's because we have a diverse group here. And one thing I've seen within the industry, and then also when you go to these big, like a Walmart Supplier Summit, they've got a more balanced male-female group of leaders. The reason they do that is not to check the box. It's about taking the diversity that each male and female have and putting them together, and all the different cultures that you can bring in to a company like ours that helps drive better decisions. It's different perspectives. And so over the next year, you're going to see me and Vicky and Julie's helping me right now, but we're going to be moving towards educating and opening this company up to a more diverse group. We got to have a diverse group of individuals driving this company forward. Okay. Next item. Like it might fit me. The corporate social. Hey, Darren, can you put your mute on? So the corporate social responsibility, that is within the enterprise. Each company, the Bortons, the Gebers, the Co-ops, Columbia Valley, all of our different shippers, Crane, they all do a lot within their communities, from their corporate standpoint to help within their communities and actually around the world, the amount of money these folks give. We want to have an enterprise social responsibility, you know, a program. And so Bob touched on some of those that we're going to be looking at over the next 2 months with the board. And we're going to choose 1, possibly 2. And it's going to be something that's meaningful, that moves the needle. It's not going to be about smoke and mirrors and, you know, having a social responsibility program like let's buy everybody a puppy and then we can put the stamp on our box, you know. It's going to be something that's meaningful and moves the needle, and it's the right thing to do. Last item there is the initiative or the innovative business model. And what I mean by that, I see that Julie and Mac already touched on it. We are not going to sit around and wait for COVID to go away. Who knows when it's going to go away? Who knows when the vaccine is going to be made available, if it's even going to work, or if it's just going to kill a bunch of people from taking it, you know, since they haven't tested it too long. Who knows? So we're not going to wait around as a company. We're going to meet and we're going to come up with new innovative ways to replicate some of the things that have been taken away, like travel to see customers, going to a PMA, and like Julie said, you know, we're going to replicate that with sending samples, and we're going to have that meeting on Zoom, and we'll sample those apples together. So you'll all be involved as this, you know, as you come up with good ideas, how we can replicate how we used to do business. I want you to bring it to my attention, okay? So next slide. So this is a quick video I think you'll get a kick out of because everybody's been asking me, when are we going to return to the office? And let's watch this video and I'll touch on that. I love that video. Too bad you couldn't hear the music and what they were saying, but I love that video, especially the last one where the lady's in the bubble. Make sure if you're working remotely that you don't get in your own little bubble. And someday if we do return to the office, that we got to pop that bubble. So I want to touch on communication. The thing that I fear the most, and for the most part, we've done a really good job. I see the managers having regular Zoom meetings. I actually think that our communication is actually better today through these meetings than it used to be. Tyler, if you could flash that little Post-it note up. So you assume that we communicate. Reggie doesn't know this, but after he came to work here, I went in to his desk to get something and I saw this Post-it note. And you assume everybody knows what OOO means, and Reggie had written this stuff down. So out of office and BRB, be right back. And so that just cracked me up. Sorry for exposing you there, Reggie, but don't assume somebody knows what you're thinking. Make sure you reach out and communicate. And that's one of my biggest fears of us working remotely and not being in close proximity. You don't hear all the things going on around you and you can miss out on stuff. And over time, we could actually reduce our level of communication. So make sure you keep that on a high level. Employee travel is not going to happen for a while, you guys, until we feel it's ultimately safe. So that is not going to happen. And most companies are not traveling that much on business. Are we going to return to the office? At some point, I don't know. Been kicking that around right now because from what I see, if we can make this work remotely, why would we all come back into the office? There may not be a reason. Maybe we downscale the office. Future work week at Chelan Fresh, I don't know. We want to be flexible. I've talked to all the managers. I'm leaving it up to the managers to manage their department. And if they feel like you're not getting the job done remotely, they may ask you to be in the office 2-3 times a week. Okay, so keep that in mind. I cracked up when this picture on the bottom, it's hard to see, but that's Denise. And Daniel was having a sales meeting one day and Denise didn't know it. She was in her car and she'd propped her phone up and I couldn't get the picture to show her dog was right in the center console. I think it was a black lab and she had her window down. So you couldn't see Daniel. All you could see the full screen was Denise with her dog. And we've had some really funny stuff happen this year. And I want to name a couple here real quick. So I remember the first sales meeting where Tim repeatedly asked everyone can you hear me now? He just kept saying, can everybody hear me now? And as people would turn off their microphone and turn it back on, it sounded like about 100 UFOs were landing. I'm sure you all remember that. Now I look at a sales meeting, it's just bam, bam, bam. We figured it out. We're moving forward and just great job, everybody. I remember when, I said, hey, if you're 60 or older, if you feel like you're, vulnerable to the coronavirus, I want you to work remotely. That's kind of a mandate. Roger Bozel had just turned 60, so he had to go home. He didn't like it. And so for the next 3 or 4 days, his wife, Peggy, was texting me every day. Now, when is Roger going to be able to come back to the office? So I thought that was great. So anyway, with that, I want to get into the Decade Award. we'll keep moving forward here. So we have one individual that's been with the company or started with the company 10 years ago, and that's Paul Divis. And I got a few things to say about Paul here. I hear some clapping out on the floor. So Paul was 10 years old when he started working at Chelan Fresh. Because I say that because Paul looks like he's 20, and there's a reason for that. But Paul actually started his career at Chelan Fresh in QC and worked there for a year and a half. And then after that, he applied for a sales assistant position and worked in the Walmart department as a sales assistant for almost a year. Shortly after that, he started working with Wayne Scott for a year, and then Wayne retired and Nate took over the Kroger account. And for the most part, Paul really drove that and did a lot of the day-to-day with the Kroger buyers. Today, Paul is a full-time sales representative, and it's just like you heard Daniel say, he's done a tremendous job. And I remember a couple of years ago, after Paul had been here about 8 years, I walked out and I said, Paul, look around. You need to step up your game and start helping the rest of us train the new next generation that's come into the company. And he kind of looked at me like, what are you talking about? He said, I'm that next generation, so don't say that to me. You know how Paul can be like his dad, a little bit brash. So anyway, a couple hours later, he walks into my office and he goes, Tom, I got to looking around and you're right, I'm one of the older guys here. So my point is, we've got a lot of folks here that are continuing to develop in the company and learn, because before you know it, you'll look around and you'll be one of those seasoned individuals. We can never, forget that you need to reach out and you need to help the new teammates that we have in the company. So last thing here, Paul, I'm so proud of you to see how much you've developed over the last 10 years, and especially your commitment to Chelan Fresh. I really appreciate that. And so today, I've got, I don't know if you can see this, but it's a crystal apple that we give anyone that's been with the company for 10 years. And if you know Paul to me is the most disciplined person when it comes to his diet. And since he's been with Chelan Fresh, his weight has fluctuated over the last 10 years, plus or minus 3.64 ounces. Therefore, I nicknamed Paul Mr. Lean. So got a nice crystal apple there for you, Paul. And then I bought you a gift certificate to get 100 cheeseburgers at the Lakeview Drive-In. So enjoy that. So next item. I'm just about done here. Hang on. Bonuses. It's bonus time, you guys. And this time of year, I love it. We'll have some good bonuses to give out. And I think the checks will arrive tomorrow. So we'll start doing that on next Monday and Tuesday. Hopefully we can get through North and South staff over those 2 days. And so anyway, make sure you're available and you can come in. We're going to do these in person. Come in with a mask. I'll be wearing a mask. Your supervisor will wear a mask. And we'll give you a couple of nice bonus checks, okay? So in closing, I just want to say that, we've had a tremendous, I can't remember when I've heard this many accomplishments, at Chelan Fresh. And so I thought it was great that we heard from all the managers. The majority of the managers, couldn't hear from all of them today for time, but we have done a considerable amount. We hung in there during COVID. We got the job done. We sold our crop, and I'm really proud of this group. So thank you, and look forward to meeting with you all on Monday and Tuesday to give you a couple of nice bonus checks. So thank you and have a good evening.